there, welcome to Poetics Gaming. Today we're going to be doing a playthrough of Tiny Epic Defenders, and in front of us we have all the components that you need to set up a single scenario and play. I'd like us to note before we get started that we will not be using a scenario from the Dark War expansion. Instead, we're just going to play a regular scenario, but we will have some Dark War components in here that will add a bit of variety. So, before we set up, let's just take a look at the components we need to play. We have the artifacts, we have the region cards, we have the epic foe cards, we have the defender cards, we have the defender turn cards, we have the enemy turn cards, we have the dire enemy turn cards, we have the meeples for each of the defenders, we have their health tokens, including the epic foe health token, we have the threat tokens, we have a die that'll help us randomize setup, and we have the rule book, which will help us in case we need any help while we're playing the game. So next we're going to set up, step by step, a single scenario of Tiny Epic Defenders. The first step of setup is to set out the region cards. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to put the capital city in the center of my play area, and then I'm going to give the regions a quick shuffle, and then I'll place them out in a circle around the capital city itself. I could do this under the table, I could roll a die for it, but I'm not thinking too hard about it. I'm going to place them out like so around the capital city. Now that I've done that, I'm going to randomize whether each region is on its A side or its B side. And the reason I want to do that is because each region has an ability that the defenders will be able to use in the course of defending the realm. And the A side and the B side adds a little bit of variety because there's a difference between the two. So I'm going to start here with the desert. I'm going to go around much in the same way I placed the regions out. And I'm going to determine if it goes on its A side or B side by rolling this die. On a 1 to 3, it'll be on its A side. On a 4 to 6, it'll be on the B side. So let's roll it out. Okay, we got a 2, so that remains on the A side. Let's go to the forest. The forest, we got a 3, so that's going to remain on its A side. Let's do the plains. Okay, that's a 6, so we're going to flip that over to its B side. The mountains, got a 4, so that's going to go to its B side. The coast, it's a 1, so it remains on its A side. And finally, the ruins, where we got a 1. So that is going to stay on its A side. Now that all the sides have been determined, I'm going to place the threat markers on the 0 place in each region, including in the capital city. So I'm going to place those out here now. And I can move on to the next stage of setup, which is determining my characters, my defenders that I'm going to be using. Now, because I'm playing a solo game, I'm going to be using 2 heroes. And so in order to do this, what I like to do, you can choose any you'd like, but I'm going to randomly select them by giving them a quick shuffle. So I'm just going to mash them together here. I'm going to draw 2 from the bottom. So we have Terex. I'm going to place him there. And we have Lisham. And I will place him there. Then I'm going to grab the colors that are appropriate, the meeples that are appropriate for the colors that are here. You don't have to do this, but I like to. So Terex is a sort of bluey color, so I'm going to put Terex into the capital city here. And Lisham is this greeny color, so I'm going to put him here in the capital. I'm also going to place the health marker in the appropriate place at the top there. The next part of setup is putting out the artifacts. Now these will contain powerful items that the defenders will be able to get when they defeat dire enemies, which will help them defend the realm. So I'm going to give these a quick shuffle, and I will place them in an easily accessible place in my game area. After that, I'm going to randomly select an epic foe. As you can see, there are plenty of epic foes to choose from. I'm just going to shuffle these up and select one at random and place it in the game area here. So I'm going to take this one. I'm going to place him right there. The next step of setup is creating both the turn order deck and the horde deck. And the rules for this can be a little bit confusing, so I'm just going to do it in the way that I think is easiest and most straightforward. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my defender cards and I'm going to select the cards that are appropriate. So I'm going to take the blue because we have the blue defender. I'm going to chuck the red because we don't have a red defender. We have the all defenders card, and because I'm playing with two heroes, I'll include this one. The yellow, I'm going to chuck that because I don't need it. And then I'm going to take the green one because we have a green defender. And then finally, we have the last all defenders card, which, because I'm playing up to 3 players, I will include. So I have 4 cards now in my defender deck. I'm going to give those a quick shuffle. I'm going to place them here. And that will be the beginning of my turn order deck. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the enemy cards, which look like this. I'm going to give them a quick shuffle. I'm going to take the top 3. I'm going to place them on top of the defender cards that I've already placed down on the turn order deck. I'm now going to take 3 more and place them here on top of the epic foe card, and that'll be the beginning of our horde deck. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my dire enemies. I'm going to give those a shuffle, and it's at this point that I determine how hard I want this game to be. Now, I'm going to start off with a normal difficulty game, which means I'm going to take 2 of these dire enemies. I'm going to add them to the horde deck. So I just give them a quick shuffle. I'm going to take 2 and place them on top of the horde deck there. And at this point, I've completed my setup in terms of my horde deck, my turn deck, and my artifact cards, on top of everything else that I've done up until this point. And it's at this point that we are ready to play. Before we begin our first round, just want to explain what we're trying to do. So, our goal as Lysholm and Terex is to defeat the epic foe before the threat level in the capital city reaches this point. And the way that the threat level is going to increase is actually through the outer regions, which have their own threat levels. Each time that they're attacked by enemies, dire or regular, the threat level is going to go up. And if it gets up to this point, after 3, it's going to be destroyed. So if it's destroyed, every time it would be attacked, it will instead increase the threat level here in the capital city, which can lead us to losing. In this way, we have to put out fires, no pun intended, the threat tokens are fire, all across the realm, and really manage our resources well enough so that by the time the epic foe comes around, we have a chance at defeating them before the city of the capital is destroyed. So on our turn, we can do a number of things, which I will explain when we get to them. The first round is always the same in that the top 3 cards are going to be those 3 enemy cards we put on top, followed by the defender actions. So let's go ahead and reveal the first card and see where the threat level is going to increase. So the first place that we're going to increase it is in the forest, and then in the desert. So we'll find the forest and we'll increase it by 1. It's been attacked by spiders here. And then we'll go to the desert where it's being attacked by scorpions. The next places that will be attacked are the desert again, and then the mountains. So the mountains are being attacked by, it looks like lions here of some sort. And then finally, the mountains again, and then the ruins. So I already know from the first 3 enemy cards that the hot spots are going to be the desert and the mountains, which is quite fortuitous to us because they're right next to the capital city, as we'll see here in just a moment. So the next card is an all defenders card. And what this card means is that we are given 3 actions to spend collectively amongst the defenders that are defending the realm. So I can choose any defender to perform any number of actions up to 3 amongst the 2 defenders that we have here. And what I can do on my turn is pretty straightforward. I can spend an action to move from one region to another, and there's a special rule with that where the capital city is adjacent to the 2 regions that are on the left and the right of it, but it is not adjacent to the regions that are on the outside. In order to get to those, I have to travel through either the desert or the mountains to get to those. The next thing I can do is I can secure. When I secure, I reduce the threat in a region by 1. I can use an action to use one of my special character abilities, and I'll describe those in a moment. And the last thing I can do is fight, which is when I damage the epic foe, but we don't need to do that until the very end. So, first thing I'm going to do is I can see that the threat in these 2 areas is quite high, and I don't want those to go up. So, I'm going to move Terex out for 1 action, and then I'm going to use the remaining 2 actions on the All Defenders card to reduce that to 0. All right, we're going to draw the next card in the turn order deck. So here we go. It's another All Defenders card. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Lysholm. I'm going to move him over here for 1 action, and then reduce the threat level in the mountains by 2 with the remaining 2 actions. Then I'm going to draw the next card in the turn order deck, and I have the Green Defender card. Now, one thing I can do is I can sacrifice 1 health to get an additional action when my Defender card is drawn. Furthermore, Lysholm has a special ability called Command, and it says, as soon as your Defender card is drawn, you may choose another Defender to gain 1 action to spend immediately and then continue your turn. So I'm going to give this one to Terex, and I'm going to move Terex over here into the ruins, and I'm going to explain why I've done that here in just a moment. Now I'm going to use the remaining 3 actions with Lysholm. So I'm going to, let's see here. I know I have some threat over here in the forest, and I have some threat here in the ruins, but Terex is there. There's not much for me to do, so instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to use just a single action, and I'm going to use the mountains action here, which says leap. Place your defender in the circle. When any outer region is attacked, you may immediately move to that region and defend it, paying health as normal. So I'll spend 1 action to do that, and then I have nothing else really to do, so I'm just going to leave him as is. And the next card, of course, is Terex. Okay. Now with Terex, I'm going to do a couple things. The first thing is I'm going to secure and remove the threat level in the ruins down to 0. And then I'm going to use the Ruin special ability here, which says Entomb. For 1 action, I can place any 1 card from the discard pile onto this card slot. At the start of the next round, place the Entombed card directly into the discard pile, only once per round. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to take a look at the discard deck, and I'm going to pick out one of those enemy cards that we placed down before, and I'm going to place it into the Entomb. And this will help me out because, as we've seen, we have a hot spot in the mountains and in the desert. So where is probably the hardest one? I'm going to do this one. And that'll reduce the amount of threat that goes in the desert, as well as the amount of threat that goes into the forest, which will be helpful because, as we can see, I haven't really moved up there yet because it's kind of out of the way. All right, and that is the end of the first round. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the turn order deck, I'm going to flip it over, I'm going to place it there. I'm going to take the top card of the Horde deck, I'm going to place it in the turn order deck. I'm going to give it a quick shuffle. I'm going to place it down there. And I can't forget that at the start of the next round, this Entomb. I'm going to place this immediately into the discard. So it doesn't activate, nothing like that. It's just there being a bit useless and not increasing the threat in those areas, which is great. So I'm now going to begin the next round. Okay, so let's turn over the first card for the round, and it is the blue defender's turn, which is Terex, which is not exactly ideal. But I will use a single action to entomb those enemies again. Those poor spiders, they never had a chance, and the scorpions as well. They are just continually being entombed. And then I know that the desert is going to get at least one attack. So I'm going to move Terex there, and that'll be it for my turn. All right, so I'm going to reveal the next card here. And we have the desert and the mountains. So first things first, I'm going to defend in the desert, and Terex has a special ability called Maneuver. When you defend against a regular enemy, you may lose 2 health to defend both attacked regions on the enemy card. I think this is to reflect the fact that he's a birdfolk raptor and he can move around quite easily. So when I defend, I can lose 1 health to ensure that the threat doesn't go up in that region. I think the idea is that I'm fighting off the scorpions or whatever the regular enemy is. And then using Terex's maneuver, I'm also going to defend against the mountains there, the cats in the mountains there. So I'll lose another health there. Okay, now I'm going to move on to the next card. And it is the mountains and the ruins. Now, I'm actually going to let the mountains go up by 1 because I don't yet want to spring Lysham's special ability with the leap from the mountains there. I want him to be able to move about and actually get some advantage from having gone in there in the first place. The ruins are going to go up by 1, which is fine, not a problem for now. Let's reveal the next card. Okay, so we now have a pterodactyl attacking the plains, and this is a dire enemy. Now, dire enemies are so-called dire enemies because in order to defend against them, you have to lose 2 health. But if you do so, you'll also gain an artifact. The other thing that makes them a dire enemy is that if they are not defended against, they have a special ability here that will go into play. And the pterodactyls is Terrorize. It says, before any player may defend, all defenders in the region opposite the plains lose 2 health. So that would be in the coast. And thankfully no one is there, so neither of our characters are going to lose 2 health. And I'm going to use the leap ability from the mountains to move over here into the plains with Lysham. Okay, and I'm going to defend by losing 2 health. Which means then that I get to take the top card from the artifact deck and I get to place it with Lysham. So he has the Hammer of Might, which says that immediately reduce 1 threat in the outer region where you end your turn. It's a great card for Lysham. I'm just going to place it there underneath his character sheet so I remember to do that. The other thing that you may notice is that I'm not using the items that you attach to the meeples here. There's a couple reasons for that. The first is that I actually don't really like them. I think they're just a little bit too much of a fiddly to add to the characters while you're playing. The second reason I don't like them is actually I like the portability of the game, and I feel like the items make it difficult to pack everything into the boxes. So I'm just not using them for now. But rest assured that if you do get this game, there will be a hammer, little bit of plastic that you can attach to this meeple, which makes it look like he has a hammer if you're into that. Okay, so we've successfully defended against the pterodactyl. Lysham did in the plains using the mountain's leap ability. So we're now going to reveal the next card, and it is Lysham with the green. So we're going to use his command ability to start, which gives Terex a single action, and Terex is going to move over into the forest. And then we're going to use Lysham's special ability. Sorry, not a special ability. We're just going to use his regular 3 actions. We're going to use 1 action to move here, use the second action to reduce this by 1, and the third action to move into the capital city. Okay, we're going to reveal the next card. It's an all defenders card. So I'm going to have Terex reduce this by 1. He's going to move here, and then he's going to move into the capital city as well. And then finally, we have an all defenders card. So because my characters are starting in the capital city, okay, I'm going to give a spoiler alert. I'm going to give an action to both of them. They're technically starting a turn, which means that they'll heal back to full because they're starting their turn in the capital city. So first, let's get Terex. He's going to heal to full, and I'm going to move him 1 and then 2 to the ruins. And then Lysholm, I am going to heal him to full, and I'm going to move him out into the mountains. Okay, so with that, we have finished the round. So I'm going to flip the turn deck over. I'm going to take the top card of the Horde deck, add it there, give it a quick shuffle. Just to randomize what comes out, of course. I'm going to place it there, and then I'm ready to begin the next round. So let's start the next round. We're going to flip over the first card in the turn order deck, and it is Lysholm. So that activates his command ability, which gives Terex 1 action. Oh, my apologies. I totally forgot to do something here, which is fine, but this is all in the spirit of fun. So I forgot to, with the Entomb ability, I forgot to take the enemy here. I'm going to place him under he should have been the first card in the discard there. But with Lysholm's command ability, I give Terex an action. He's going to use his actions to entomb those poor spiders and scorpions again. So a little bit redundant, but just important to make sure that I'm following the sequence properly. So they're re-entombed using Lysholm's command ability through Terex. Okay, so now Lysholm is going to spend an action to move into the mountains and do the leap ability there. Okay, and that's pretty much all he can do. So we're going to leave that as is. And we're now going to move to the next card, which is the Pterodactyl again. Okay, so first of all, we do the Terrorize, which is opposite the planes. Does a character take damage there? No, because there's no characters there, which is great. And then I'm going to use the leap ability of Lysholm to leap him there. I'm going to defend against it for 2 damage, which gives me yet another item off of the artifact deck. So we have the Wings of Zephyr, which for 1 action, I can move to any outer region of my choice once per turn. So it seems like Lysholm is going to be quite mobile, which will be really helpful moving forward. Okay, time for the next card in the turn order deck. So let's see what we get. Oh, another enemy in the plane. So these are giant wasps. So if we don't defend against this, we get Sting, which is each defender, regardless of which region they're in, actually takes 1 damage if they're at full health. So we're going to use Lysholm and we're going to defend, bring him down to 0. Okay, so that's actually not the end of the world. All that means is that he won't be able to secure, defend, or fight, but he can still move about and he can still use his abilities if necessary. So because we defeated the giant wasp, we're going to then draw another artifact card, and we have a back item here, which we have to choose because we can only have 1 back item. So we have the Wings of Zephyr and we have the Tinkered Automaton. The Tinkered Automaton said each time a threat increases in your region, gain 1 health, and the Wings of Zephyr are the spend 1 action to move to any outer region of your choice. I personally think that the Wings of Zephyr are going to be a little bit more helpful, so I'm going to keep those. And this will go into an item discard here, where it will not be used really for the rest of the game. So I'm then going to go to the next card in the turn order here. So we have the mountains that go up by 1, and the ruins, which would go up by 1, but I'm going to defend with Terex. So Terex is going to defend the ruins, and his ability maneuver says when you defend against a regular enemy, you may lose 2 health to defend both attacked regions on the enemy card. So I'm going to take another damage there, And I'm going to just reduce that threat by 1 because it's as if I've defended against those cats there. Okay, next card in the turn order. It is Terex's turn. Great. So Terex is going to reduce the ruins by 1 by securing it. He's then going to move here, and then he's going to move into the capital city with his final action. All right, next card. All Defenders card. Fantastic. So Terex is going to heal all the way up to full, and I'm going to move him 1 and 2, and then we have 1 action remaining, and I will move Lysholm back into the mountains. That seems to be doing a lot of good for us, so we'll move him there. All right, next card in the turn order deck, we have the desert up by 1, then the mountains. And Lysholm actually has no health, so he can't defend against it. So we'll go there. I perhaps should have moved him with that All Defenders card, but you know, what can you do? And then we're going to reveal the next card, which is All Defenders card, which is great because that will get Lysholm here, where he'll be able to heal. So that's 1 action. And then we'll move Terex here with the other action. With the final action, we will reduce the threat in there with the secure. Okay, so I'm going to take the turn order deck. I'm going to flip it over. I'm then going to take the top card of the Horde deck. And then I'm going to shuffle the turn order deck. And then we can begin the next round. And at this point, I'm beginning to get a sense of where my hotspots are, where I need to be more often than not. And we can know that just randomly we selected 2 dire enemies that are in the plains. So I'm going to need characters in the plains or able to defend the plains and pretty much just sit there to defend against there. And then I think we could have another character sort of fly about or do whatever they need to do to reduce the threat in other areas. So with that, we can begin the next round. Okay, and at the start of the next round, we're going to remember our Entomb this time. So we're going to place those spiders and scorpions in our turn discard, and we'll take the top card off of the turn order deck to get things started. So we have a desert and the mountains. I'm going to use Terex's ability here to maneuver to defend against both. So he was able to defend both of those regions. He can fly, so that's very helpful. We're then going to reveal the next one. We have the ruins and the coast where we don't have anyone. I'm going to reveal the next card now. And it is Terex's turn. And he has 3 actions that he can use. And I think what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to move Terex over to the plains. So 1 action, 2nd action. And the reason I want to do this is because I want to defend against a dire enemy. I want to get some items. Lysholm at this point has 2 items, 2 artifacts. Terex is going to need some if he's going to be as helpful. And that's all I'm going to do with his actions there. So we'll move on to the next one. Next card in the turn order deck. We have the mountains and the ruins. So the mountains go up by 1. Ruins go up by 1. Let's move to the next one. The pterodactyl. Okay, great. So we check for terrorize. Nope, there's no one in the coast, so they don't lose any health. And then Terex is going to defend and lose 2 health to defeat the pterodactyl, but he's going to be able to draw an artifact card. So he gets the Zodiac Cloak, which means that when an ally's defender card is drawn, including the All Defenders card, you may sacrifice 1 health to immediately gain 1 action. That's great. So he'll be able to lose health and to take actions if and when he needs them. So I'll just place that under his card there, just so I remember to use it. Okay, next card, here we go. All Defenders card, great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use 2 actions to move Terex in there so we can get him back to full at the start of his next turn. And then with the remaining action with Lysholm, I'm going to move him out into the mountains there. Great. Okay, next card, another All Defenders card, which is great. So Terex is going to heal to full, and I'm going to move him out 1 and then 2. And then with Lysholm, I'm going to secure for 1. Okay, next card, Giant Wasps. Okay, so I'm not there to defend, which is a bit of a shame. I perhaps should have used the mountain to leap. But regardless, I'm not there to defend, so it goes up by 1. And each defender, regardless of region, at full health must lose 1 health. Well, Lysholm, he started his turn there, so he would have been at full health. And Teryx are both at full health, so they're both going to lose 1 health, which is not great, but not the end of the world. Right, final card is Lysholm, as we suspected. So Teryx is going to get an action. He's going to Entomb. And this time, I think what we're going to do is he's going to use his action to Entomb those annoying wasps. So he's going to put the wasps there and Entomb them. And now Lysholm has 3 actions that he can do. So he is going to secure here. He's going to move here and secure here. So that is a total of 3 actions. Okay. So we flip over the turn order deck. We have the top card of the Horde deck here. We give it a little shuffle and we prepare for the next round. At the beginning of the next round, of course, we take the creature that is, or creatures that are in the Entomb, and we place them in the discard. And at this point, you can see our turn order deck is getting quite big. There's a lot of threat that is occurring to the kingdom, and we've done all right so far. The ruins are a little bit high, but we've done all right so far in keeping it down, even though we've had a couple of misplays, I would argue. So we're now going to start the round by revealing the top card of the turn order deck, and it's an all defenders card. Okay, so Teryx is going to use 1 action to reduce there. And then Lysholm is actually going to move here into the mountains, and he is going to use an action to get onto the leap. And this will just give us the ability to move about if we need to, in case something pops out that we're not expecting. Okay, next card is another all defenders card. Okay, so Teryx is going to secure again, and he's also going to Entomb. So he's going to take those giant wasps and he's going to place them back where they belong, entombed in the ruins. And then with our final action, I don't think, yeah, we'll move Teryx into the desert because we know there's some desert cards coming our way. All right, so we're going to flip the turn order deck, and it's the green defender's turn. Okay, so that gives, the command ability gives Teryx a opportunity to move here, and I'm going to move or do an action, and I actually am not going to take advantage of that because there's not much to do. Same with Lysholm himself. There's not much for him to do, so we're just going to wait and see what comes out of the turn order deck. So let's go ahead and flip that over. All right, we have the ruins and the coast. Then we have the pterodactyl. Great. So Lysholm is going to leap. We check for terrorize. Of course, there's no one there. And then we're going to defend, which will give us another artifact card. And it is the Staff of Control. So at the start of his turn, I may move the epic foe to any outer region. Super helpful. And at this point, Lysholm has a full set of items, of artifacts. He has 2 items in his hands and 1 on his back. So at this point, if he gets any other items, he'll have to replace them with the appropriate slot that they're in. So if he gets another hand item, he'll have to lose one of his hand items. If he gets another back item, he'll have to replace his back item. Okay, let's move on to the next card in the turn order deck. All right, so we're in the desert and the mountains. So we're going to use Teryx's maneuver ability to defend against both. So neither go up. And we'll reveal the next card in the turn order deck. It's the mountains and the ruins. Let's go up. Reveal the next card in the turn order deck. It is Teryx. So Terex now has 3 actions. And so, let's see here. We are going to, I want to be able to move him into the capital city so that he can regain his health, because if he doesn't have his health, he won't be very useful. But I also need to reduce the threat that is here. And I'm not sure there's a way to do both currently, which is a little bit frustrating. Because if I use an action to move here and then secure and then go back there, it's not going to be helpful because I can't go from the ruins to the capital city. I have to go through the desert. So I think we're just going to have to risk it and use one action and move him into the capital city and hope that he'll be able to move out of there and get back to the ruins shortly. So we're going to move on to the next card in the turn order deck, and it is the forest and the desert, which is fine. They're not really a concern. The final card in the turn order deck is the coast and the desert. Okay. So at the end of this round, we can see that the coast and the desert are becoming concerns, as well as the ruins. So this sort of bottom half, we need to defend and secure and reduce that threat. But we also have the problem of dire enemies coming into the plains. And that can have pretty bad effects on us. So we're going to take the turn order deck. I'm going to flip it over. We're then going to add this card, the final card in the horde deck there. We're going to give it a quick shuffle, and then we'll start the next round. So this is the final round before we have the epic foe come out. So we want to make sure that things don't spiral out of control, which unfortunately they could, especially in this sort of lower crescent here of these regions, in the desert, the ruins, and the coast. So let's go ahead and reveal the top card, and let's hope that it is not bad. All right, Green Defender's turn. That's great. So Terex gets an action. That means he's going to heal all the way up to full. And we're going to move him out into the desert. So he's got a little bit of a head start there. Then we need Lysham to move out. He has 3 actions, so we're going to move here. We're going to secure for 1, and then with his final action, we'll move him to the capital city so that he can heal up to full. And of course, I forgot to entomb or to place the entombed creature underneath there, so we'll just do that. Put him into the discard there because we should have done that originally. Okay, next card in the turn order deck. We have the coast and the desert. So Terex is going to defend for both, and thank goodness that he can, because if the coast had gone up, it would have been destroyed, which is really bad news for us. So Terex is going to lose 2 health, and neither region will go up by 1. All right, next card in the turn order deck. All right, we have the ruins and the coast. So unfortunately this time, we can't do anything about that. And what we do when a region is destroyed is we take the card that destroyed it, we flip it over, and we place it on top to remind us that it has been destroyed. The second thing we do is we increase the threat level in the capital city by 1. Okay, now this is our loss condition. So if this progresses to 8 threat, we will lose. So we want to make sure that the coast, when it's attacked, hopefully there's someone there to defend it. And this is our timer, right? So if it happens before we defeat the epic foe, we will lose. Okay, next card in the turn order deck. Here we go. All defenders. Great. So I am going to sacrifice 1 health to give Terex an extra action. And now that we have, actually, I take it back. I'm not going to do that. Now that we have a destroyed region, we gain an extra action. Okay, so the All Defenders card, we now have 4 actions to collectively share. So this is really good for us insofar as Terex, he's going to move down here with 1 action, and he's going to use 2 actions to reduce the threat there. And then we're going to have Lysham, who's now healed back to full, go up there with the remaining action. And then we're going to reveal the next card. So we have the desert and the mountains. Lysholm is going to lose 1 health. Yeah, he's going to lose 1 health to defend there. Reveal the next card in the turn order deck. It's an all defenders card. So I'm going to use Lysholm to move here. And then I'm going to use, so that's 1 action. I have 3 more. I'm going to entomb. So we're going to take those giant wasps. We're going to place them there. And then I'm going to move Terex here. And I'm going to reduce this by 2. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4. So actually only by 1. Okay. Now I'm going to reveal the next card in the turn order deck. It is the mountains and the ruins. Reveal the next card in the turn order deck. It is the forest and the desert. But Terex is going to defend those. So neither goes up, which is great, but now he's at 0. So we'll need to make sure he gets in there if possible. The next card is plains and forest. Lysholm will take a hit there, and the forest will go up by 1. We have the pterodactyl, which Lysholm is going to defend against. So he's going to defend against that, lose 2 health, but the pterodactyl doesn't increase there. Gets an artifact, the Spear of Valor. So for 2 actions, he can fight, dealing 3 damage instead of 1, once per turn. And that is going to be pretty good. So we're going to replace the Hammer of Might with the Spear of Valor there. Okay, and then the final card in the turn order deck is the Blue Defender card, which is Terex. Now Terex can't really do anything because he doesn't have a lot of health. So he is going to move into the capital city so that he gets full health to start next time. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the turn order deck. I'm going to give it a quick shuffle. And then I'm going to reveal the epic foe and place him in the appropriate region or near the appropriate region. I'm going to have to use another meeple to represent him just because I don't have enough space. But I will be able to indicate his health using one of the heart tokens. So it should be pretty easy to see where he is. Okay, so the turn order deck is well and truly shuffled now. We're going to reveal the epic foe. And we have Colossus. Who is this awesome looking sandworm. And Colossus has a special ability. It says, when a defender's card is drawn, that defender is placed into the Colossus's mouth only if no defender is currently in the Colossus's mouth. A defender can only fight while in the mouth of the Colossus, and it costs heart instead of action. So in order to fight, it costs health instead of action points. And then along his health track, there are these skull icons. And on the skull icons, the defender is spit out and lands in the outer region opposite of the Colossus's region. So the Colossus has the deserts region there. So that means that he is going to start in the desert. And we're going to represent him with this yellow meeple here. So he is in the desert. And we'll use this yellow health to represent him there. So there he is, and we're gonna have to try and figure out how to, let's move that there, and we'll move the turn order deck perhaps there, and then that way we can see who's just come out. Okay, so with that, we'll start the next round here. So at the start of the round, we are going to remember to move the entombed giant wasps into the discard. So we'll place those there. And then we will draw the first card here, which is an all defenders card, which is good for us. So Terex is going to go to full health. And then we are going to move into the desert, and we're going to, so that's one action, and we're going to use 2 actions to reduce the desert down by 1, down to 0, excuse me, and then we'll use the final action to move Terex into the ruins. Okay, next card in the turn order deck, we have the mountains and the ruins. So we're going to use Terex to defend against that. And actually, we're just going to use his, we're not going to use his maneuver this time. We're just going to defend against that. So the mountains are going to go up by 1. Okay, next card in the turn order deck, we have the pterodactyl. All right. And Lysholm is not going to be able to defend against that because I forgot to see that his health was so low. So the pterodactyl is just going to increase the threat there by 1. Not ideal. And he terrorizes, but there's nothing there. So nothing really to worry about there. Okay. Next card, the forest and the desert. So forest goes up by 1. Desert goes up by 1. All right. Next card, we have the desert and the mountains. So as you can see, things here are getting quite difficult. Okay. So first things first, Terex is going to get a command here. And he has 1 action to spend. Let's see here. He is going to entomb our old friend Entomb, and we just need to figure out which is the most optimal to entomb here. So it looks like the mountains and the forest are the most dangerous area there. So do we have any mountains and forest? No. So we'll just do mountain and desert. It's fine for now. And entomb those. Place those there. Now, according to the rules, Lysholm is going to be placed in the Colossus's mouth. So I'm going to place him on top of that card there. And it says, a defender can fight while in the mouth of the Colossus, and it costs heart instead of actions. Well, at this point, he has no health, so he cannot fight while in there. So we're just going to take a second and check the rules and see how, if at all, we can get out of this particular scenario. Okay, so we've checked the rules, and what we found is that while the character in the mouth of the Colossus has to fight using health, other characters can actually fight them from the outside, which means that Terex can come over and actually knock Lysholm out of the mouth by doing enough damage to the Colossus. So all is not lost there. But for the time being, Lysholm, he's in the mouth of the Colossus, but he doesn't actually have any actions that he can do. So he just has to remain there. Hopefully he's not in too much pain. All right, let's reveal the next card in the turn order. So we have Coast, which is bad news for us because while it would do damage here, because it's already destroyed, it increases the threat in the capital city, and the Desert, which is going to go up by 1. Okay, next card. Okay, it's an all defenders card, which is good for us. So we're going to move Terex up here with 1 action. Okay, and then we are going to, with our remaining 3 actions, fight. So we're going to do 1, 2, and 3 damage to the Colossus, which means that because we got to this value here, it means that the character in the Colossus' mouth is spat out opposite the region that the Colossus is currently in. So Lysholm is spat all the way from the desert into the mountains. Quite a journey for him. All right, let's do the next card there. We have the plains and the forest. Okay. So the forest is now destroyed, which is bad for us. So we're going to increase this by 1. So we're at 3 threat on the capital city. If we gain just a few more, we're at risk of losing this scenario, which is not good. And then our final turn order card is the blue defender's turn. That's great. So Terex is going to then use 4 actions, excuse me, to fight. So he's going to take it from 7 all the way down to 3. And that will be the entirety of his turn there. Okay, so at the end of this round, we're going to take the turn order deck. We are going to give it a shuffle. And because we don't have any more horde cards to add to it, we're just going to play out the next round as per normal. And hopefully we can do enough damage to this Colossus before the regions are destroyed by all the enemies. So let's just see what happens. All right, so the first card in the turn order deck is the All Defenders card. And what I'm going to do first, of course, because I keep on forgetting, I'm going to take the Entombed Enemy. I'm going to place it underneath the All Defenders card. Now I have 4 actions to spend, and I'm going to use those 4 actions to actually attack the Colossus here, which will bring it down to death, which means that, thankfully, we have won, which was quite unexpected. Things were getting a little bit out of control there at the end there. But thankfully, due to that ruling, we were able to get the win, which is great. So thank you so much for watching this playthrough of Tiny Epic Defenders. I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to leave a comment, like, subscribe, do whatever you'd like, really. And I'll see you on the next playthrough on Poetics Gaming. Thank you.